I'm sure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Oh, sorry. Go. Yeah, you go.
What the fuck?
Go. Whatever.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that wants you to bang, 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 pull a devil trigger. I'm Will, and joining me this week, Brandon.
Speaking of sequels that we waited for forever for, why the fuck is Beyond Good and Evil 2 a prequel and not a sequel?
All right. Ills.
I have no idea what. Why? Why do you always do this?
And Muzamil.
What's wrong? I don't see what's wrong. It was, in fact, it was directly related to what Will said. Kind of.
Kind of. Yeah.
What?
Devil May Cry 5 is a sequel we waited forever for.
Well, I don't know what the bang 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 thing is.
Oh, that's from Devil May Cry 5.
Well,
That's the theme
You're just
to the game.
out of the loop. That's your fault.
Yeah.
Goddamn Ricky
Catch up on
Martin
those
song.
trailers.
The fuck?
Look,
It was performed at the Game Awards, but that is years ago.
Get with
At this point, it feels like it. Three
Devil May
months
Cry
old
5
feels
is
like a
out
year
this
ago.
week. It's incredibly relevant.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, I
But
mean,
it's it's already out when you're
Yeah,
hearing
it's already
this.
out by the time this
Man.
podcast goes up.
That's even.
Yeah.
Are you sure? When the hell does it come out?
Friday.
Friday.
Oh
Comes out-
my god.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta go through 1 through 4 tonight. Let's do it, baby.
Quick run.
Why?
Oh man, how are we doing this week, boys?
Good. Good.
I feel just dandy. I'm looking forward to talking about video games on this podcast.
Oh wow,
Oh,
that's very good and specific.
I'd hope that's what you were looking forward to on this podcast.
I mean, you won't
I'm
be
gonna- I'm gonna-
disappointed.
I'm gonna blow up Saf's spot a little bit here. He's editing this, so he'll hear this and get mad. But he DM'd me today and says, "Hey, I'm going to do a podcast long bit when you ask us how we're doing." And I was like, "Please don't ruin the podcast," but okay. But he didn't show up again this week, so guess what? This is what you get when you're not around, Saf. You can't defend yourself.
Oh man.
Stop.
So now the bit's ruined.
So that's what he gets for falling asleep.
That's what he gets for falling asleep, a sleepy boy. You know, 4 men are in this podcast room right now, the virtual room, the chat room.
No, we're in a real room.
We're in a real room. I wish. That would be
Why would you wish
pretty
that?
wild. Because then I could look when I'm interrupting you and like recognize rather than feeling bad listening back later.
I wish that too. I wish I could see your beautiful face right now, Will.
Well, no thanks.
Oh,
No thanks.
well, that's a fair. Ilse has also a reasonable stance on this. But you know, sometimes we have a ton of news to get to, sometimes we don't. This is one of those weeks where we don't have a ton to get to, so we're gonna lead off with basically the single news story for the week. Please be excited. Which is a Wednesday night, just randomly, Jason Schreier, because I have to say his name, and a bunch of other journalists get a press release from Nintendo in their email boxes. And it is, hey, guess what? We got a new product coming in. Nintendo Labo VR kit is coming in April. Now, this is a thing. We had rumors for a while that Labo wasn't going to... that they had one more Labo kit to release, maybe. We had rumors for a while that Nintendo might be looking at VR. We now look and say, hey, both those things turn out to be in one product. And amazingly, not the first cardboard-based VR headset on the market.
I mean, It's funny because like when Nintendo Labo was first announced, people made the Google Cardboard joke. They're like, "Oh, Nintendo's gonna do a Google Cardboard with VR." Joking though, you know.
Yeah.
And no, here it is. That's exactly what they're doing with Labo. They're doing VR. It's wild.
Oh, it is wild. That's for sure. We're looking at the things that we have to make.
All memes are destined to become reality.
We've willed it into being. But I think there's a few things that are worth talking about with this thing. One, I think first and foremost, what would you say was the biggest problem with Labo not becoming a huge, colossal success that some people thought it might be?
It's the price. It's
price.
It's absolutely the price. You know,
$80 for cardboard.
For cardboard?
Like
So-
I would really want to
Sorry.
try it, but I could not justify spending $80 for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Labo VR is coming out there and saying, hey, we're going to try to address this a little bit, where they're going to offer a like basic bundle for $40. And then if you get the big deluxe thing, it's $80, which is normal Labo prices. But the basic kit comes with the goggles, essentially, which is traditional VR headset, and then a blaster, which all of these products make you look like the dumbest person alive. But it's like a big super scope looking thing that you stick to your face. And then in 2 other packs, you get in pack 1, you get the camera, which may lead to a Pokemon Snap sequel if Brandon is a bad boy. And Labo Bird, the bird that we saw in that initial videos back, and you're just gonna stick your face right in that bird's butthole if you look at that promotional material.
I don't even know what they're thinking with that one. It's like we haven't even seen the game it's for yet still, because they didn't release a video on this thing. So all we see is like you just you're sticking your head into this bird's butthole.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
oh
I
my
think
god, it's so good.
You guys are like overthinking it, obviously. I mean,
but still,
it's just a cute design.
I mean, even ignoring that aspect, just the whole bird and elephant thing is just so funny and weird.
You know what's effed up? There's a gun and a bird, but no duck hunt's been mentioned with this.
No duck hunt in this kit. What are they doing? Come on, this is like easy. You can be
the duck looking down the barrel of the gun.
You would feel bad shooting the duck.
Would I?
I mean,
it's a dead franchise, guys. Leave it alone. Just let it die.
It's probably a dead franchise. But yeah, so this is also actually coming in April. This is less than a month away, which is pretty crazy.
5 weeks away. That's crazy. Crazy fast turnaround.
Holy crap! I didn't realize that.
Yeah, April 12th.
Oh well, I mean,
April 12th.
I'm not gonna buy it. I don't have room for this shit. It's cool, but I really don't have room in my life for all this crap.
I don't know how you have room for anything. You have like every amiibo and like fucking.
That's exactly why I don't have room for all this crap.
And you want more amiibos. I don't understand.
Well, that's they're a lot smaller than a big ass bird that I stick my face in its asshole.
Well, so I mean, to be fair, I think that the VR goggles themselves probably take up the least space of any of the Labo stuff.
Yeah, Labo thing. Yeah, they look relatively small.
And so I think this product's interesting, right? Because it's literally toy VR, right? It's like it's VR for kids. Obviously,
all the people using it are children on the box.
Yeah.
Right? It's clearly where it's aimed at. But, I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say, but I think that out of all the Labo kits, this one has the most potential application outside of the games that comes with. Right?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I even think just as a standalone headset, as a standalone product, I think that this Labo kit is set to succeed where others didn't, because the price is easier to swallow, and I think that Labo works better as a thing of, hey, here's this $40 add-on for a thing you already own, whereas last year it was positioned as, hey, buy this $300 Switch to use Labo, I don't think that was a good sell, necessarily, Versus now, it's like, there's more Switches out in the wild, and it's easier, especially for something like VR, like, $40 for, a novelty experience is, that's very totally fine. That is something that you can justify.
Do we have sales figures for Labo?
The variety kit shipped 1 million. The other 2 did not.
Well,
the robot
one.
It's not bad. A lot of those were marked down. Labo went down in price pretty fast.
Well, so variety kit was the only one that was shipping more beyond its initial run. Robot kit, they still have unsold robot kits from launch, and they've marked those down many times. and as far as I know, vehicle kit did okay, but still, overall though, I think it's safe to say Labo didn't do that great though.
Robot kit would be interesting with Damon X Machina.
That would be wild. But
really cool.
Because they were willing to use the vehicle kit that got support with Mario Kart. They added that in where you can now use little handlebars to steer. But and so with that, I think that it shows some willingness at least to be able to apply Labo stuff to games that are already out. And I feel like if there's anything these VR side modes that sort of have become to define a lot of VR stuff that isn't exclusively made for it, it's much more easy to accept with a $40 thing that you bought rather than the $250 PSVR, right? Like, I think that PSVR has to sell itself on VR exclusive experiences,
Yeah.
where this can sort of say, hey, here's a side mode where you're in VR driving around in Mario Kart. Like, just, there's maybe no enemies, but you just get to see everything with the scale that VR brings with it, right?
Yeah.
And that has more interest than, for $40, like I said, than it does for triple-digit prices.
It's this thing where it's like as a $40 novelty, if enough games end up updating support for it, like it's like, all right, like you can justify that, I don't know if the $80 version will get much traction. I don't know how much people. Though, the problem is they were smart. They hid the camera behind one of the expansion kits, and the camera is probably the best of the bunch.
Most obvious application, right? Yeah.
You need it for Pokemon Snap. So,
No.
Which games would you like to see VR on, or used with?
I mean, the thing is, like, I think it would just be cool if, like, hey, I put on a VR headset and, like, I'm in Peach's Castle and you get to see the scale of Peach's Castle. Just, like, I think that having a PSVR, the thing that VR continually impresses me the most with is just, like, there's a big robot in rigs and it feels like a giant robot's looming over me, right? So something like that where, like, I mean, Pokemon's another one. Like, let me see how big a Wailord is, baby. Like, that would be cool. If it's just even a model viewer, that's a dumb novelty, but it's unique.
But like that's what VR is good at, VR is. I mean, because like the biggest thing that VR lets you do that other things don't is you get to see things like to scale of how they would be in real life, right? Because you can see how big they are in comparison to yourself. So like Will said, like even like being able to see a Pokemon like the actual size of what it would look like in real life, that's cool, being able to maybe just get a closer look at some Mario Kart environments, granted at a pretty terrible resolution, but being able to immerse yourself in that, like that's neat. It's not for like, I don't want to play Breath of the Wild in this thing. I don't want to have 3-hour sessions in there. It's especially interesting because with this VR headset, I think it's definitely going to be limited to shorter experiences because there's no you have to hold it to your hand. There's
no like mount that you can put on.
You have to hold the Joy-Con while it's on the headset to hold it to your face. So I think that clearly means that it's meant to be like
10 minutes.
10 minutes max.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's for kids, I imagine like they've thoroughly tested this where it's like not that bad. I have to imagine. I don't know. We'll see. But
I mean, and also I guess you alluded to, I think the other biggest thing that you look at and say as a potential problem is that like the Switch's screen is 720p and like it's a nice screen, but like with essentially you at maximum have to cut your resolution in half because you have to render everything twice for each individual eyeball. And like, so, a 360 screen held up to your face, your eye's gonna notice that real quickly,
Yeah.
But I mean, also once again, that's not what this thing is aiming to be. It's not aiming to, like.
I mean, this is not high-end VR. This isn't even like entry-level VR. To be honest, it's like it's a novelty toy. I mean, it's literally called Toy-Con VR headset. So it's like this is a toy product. That's what this is, and like it seems like enough of a thing for me to, because like I didn't buy the second or third Labo kits.
And you're a man that buys everything.
And I buy literally everything that Nintendo comes out with, right? But like, I will buy this one though, at least the $40 version because it seems neat.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and we'll see. I mean, we talk a lot about it, but like you said, it's sort of there's a certain percent of people I saw that when this got announced that said, "Oh no, this is ruining VR for everybody. Everyone's gonna get this, and then they're gonna think that VR sucks." But like, did Google Cardboard kill PSVR? Like, no. Like,
I mean, I think it's also worth noting, like the best selling VR stuff is the low end cheap stuff like Google Cardboard. Like that's, and that's not to say like that's the future of VR or anything. No, it's just like. But, like, where VR is at right now, I don't think people can justify the cost, right?
Yeah.
And I think that where the tech is right now, it works better as a here. Let me spend $40 for something I'm gonna use for like 2 hours in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Because, I mean, Sony's gave it a good college try with games like Astrobot and a lot of exclusives. And I would say that PSVR has become a success, but I would not describe it as a major success for them, right?
I mean, it's this weird thing because like PSVR, I guess it's off topic now, but whatever.
Or just VR in general.
Yeah, but the thing with PSVR, right, is that it has to kind of sell itself as its own ecosystem, right? Like, you need VR exclusive games, you need this and that. And it's like, you have to wonder how much can Sony justify it when this thing has sold less than 3 million headsets, worldwide. Like, that's not even Vita numbers, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like it's in this weird space right now where it's like clearly like it's okay, but like I don't think people are out there spending $200 on a headset right now, So
I mean, we'll see. And like I said, this thing is low stakes. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, this thing is not competition to PSVR, just to be clear.
No,
but like it's
not
just,
at all.
No.
I don't know why anybody would do that.
But people lose their mind over this stuff.
People make me roll
Bitches
my
be
eyes.
crazy.
They do be crazy. But yeah, so there's that. We've had a lot of times to talk about the games that have been coming out, or the news has been coming out, but not the games that have been coming out necessarily, right? And so I do want to do a quick little check-in with 3 games that have come out either in February or are coming out in March, and we'll start just chronologically. We'll start with the bad news first. Basically, which is that you may remember a little game called Anthem, which got announced 2 years ago, got shown off. This was sort of the big new IP from BioWare, the creators of Mass Effect, creators of Knights of the Old Republic, Dragon Age, plenty of stuff. Mass Effect Andromeda.
Sonic Dark Chronicles.
Sonic Dark Chronicles.
The crowning achievement.
But yeah, that's what they like hang on, they hang their hat on. But so this was going to be their big thing that they've been working on for years. And it was going to be a Destiny-like yada yada. Anthem is now out, and Anthem seems to have all the problems that Destiny 1 had 5 years ago, and more. And it's a bit of a situation for BioWare. There were people are worrying, and you can see why, because the reports we have about sales is that Anthem is not lighting up the charts, isn't doing particularly well. I think there was a report that Destiny 2 did better than Anthem the week that Anthem came out.
Yikes.
Which is not a great thing.
Oh god, Destiny 2's been out forever. What the fuck?
Well, that was only in the UK, to be fair.
That was only in the UK,
Well,
but
these Europeans, they're something else.
we'll see. I don't expect it to turn it around in the
No,
other
I mean,
regions,
like,
to be
I don't
honest.
think, like, I mean, I just wanted to mention that specific factoid was probably not
Sure.
a
It's
worldwide
We'll
trend.
Well, maybe. There's a non-zero chance. But either way, and then, so that happens, right? The game doesn't launch very well, and now we get these reports that this is straight from the mouth of the man himself, Jason Schreier, on Kotaku.com. Hey, Anthem is just bricking PS4s, and you're like, excuse me?
The fuck?
And it's been fixed now, it seems, but there was a period of time for a couple weeks there where if Anthem crashed, it would straight up make your console not turn on. You had to launch in safe mode and rebuild your entire database, which every time you do that, you run the risk of losing saves and losing just anytime you do that, it's always a risk. So that's happening at the same time. People are finding out that the level 1 gun is stronger than the level 45 gun, right? And
I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah.
it's a
And
mess.
It's not like it's weird because it's kind of reminiscent of like how we felt about Fallout 76, I think, but like not nearly as bad.
Yeah,
No.
not as bad as that.
But I think Anthem is higher stakes for BioWare than Fallout 76 was for Bethesda.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Because this is what supposedly the A-Team has been working on since Mass Effect 3 launched in 2013.
Because that was their explanation for
Christ.
Andromeda having problems.
Really?
Was like,
6 years? Holy fuck.
Yeah. I mean, this game has been in the oven for a long time.
What the hell is going on with AAA development in 2018 and 19? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like
Seriously.
This is a concerning thing, right? Because it's like 6 years of development time. I think it's pretty easy to say that the sales, no matter what they are, I think it's safe to say like they're not going to be that great. It's not going to recoup costs,
No. It's like
of development.
Oh my God. Dude, indie games are putting AAA titles in the past year to fucking shame.
Well,
I mean, I
think
wouldn't
part
go
of
that
it.
far, but it's just it's this thing of like, it's just a little concerning that like you spend so long making a game and it launches like this and it gets the reception that it does, and it's like makes you wonder, especially with a publisher like EA, makes you wonder what the future of that studio is then.
Because they're famous for killing,
BioWare's on the chopping block.
I mean, Casey Hudson, who's the head of BioWare, was like, "We're doing fine," and you're like, "It does not seem like you're doing fine." Like I don't know if I believe you. And I mean, that's part of it, is that like they're in this situation where I wonder how much of it was just a poor decisions that were made 7 years ago, right? Like just because I think we can now say there was the thought walking into this generation of like, hey, let's take a shooter and an MMO. Because those are, and then we can make it work. But like the nature of how shooters work of this kind of gameplay, does not lend itself to the idea of like you just can't make enough content to support an MMO like platform, especially if you're trying to retrofit a developer like BioWare onto this, right? Like,
so like I will say like back in 2013 or whatever, it did seem like Destiny was gonna be like the future, right? Like Destiny was this like big thing. It was gonna be the biggest branding games.
What, until it came out?
Yeah, but then it came out and it wasn't. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
But like
hype is worthless. Like,
but here's the problem though. The decisions for this game were made before Destiny launched, and at some point it becomes too late to correct the ship, and that and I think that's kind of what happened with Anthem.
I mean, I think they should have saw where Destiny was going and then just taken all those assets and made a different game. These are fucking RPG makers. Like, why would you make this kind of game? This MMO bullshit, shooter bullshit.
I mean, I wouldn't even say like that. I mean, because Destiny still sold a lot. The Division sold a lot. The Division 2 is about to actually do fantastically well. It's set to be Ubisoft's biggest launch ever.
It's not out yet, right?
No, but the pre-order numbers are incredibly high. No, but like, for sales figures though, which is what matters at the end to these companies, right?
I mean, they would rather take a game that reviews at 70 and sells 20 million over a 90 game that sells, 5.
But like, I don't think it's like necessarily like an inherent problem with the genre or anything. But like, I do think that this is clearly like not a well-made game. This has not only the problems that Destiny had that they probably could have fixed, but even more on top of it, it's buggy, which I don't know how a game that's been in development this long is so freaking buggy. It's like, I don't know. Like, I think this is more of a failure on BioWare and EA than it is the genre.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that are sort of happening at the same time.
Well, it seems like they're chasing something that they didn't need to be chasing.
That's the thing, because you look at Apex Legends, which came out a couple weeks ago, is an EA game, is chasing a trend that is, Battle Royale was the trend, right? But that game came out in the span of basically a year, right? Which is when you're trying to ride a trend, the appropriate amount of time to spend. Yeah. It's that type of management, and it's a smaller scale game, and so I think that when stuff like that happens, you have to sort of look at how long will this take to come out, how much will this, where will the market be, not when we put this into production, but when this is coming out. And I get that's hard to predict. If you could predict that, you'd be a billionaire. But like, it feels that like more obvious.
When directly comparing it to Ubisoft, though, it's like Ubisoft, in the time that Anthem took to come out, is gonna produce 2 Division games, which will both sell way better than Anthem will, So it's like a lot of it just seems to be like this was incredibly like an incompetent development cycle,
And I want to tie this into a thing that ties into Ubisoft, because Brandon, you mentioned like what's going on with AAA game development, right? And a person who sort of had similar questions and is deeply tied to EA and maybe some of their own ineptitudes is Amy Hennig, right? Who she worked at Naughty Dog for a long time, worked on Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, game that is on the list. Left after her game essentially got completely rebooted. Is now fully canceled. But she was talking about the nature of AAA game development and how budgets are getting big, how it's hard to look and to employ 1,000 people on a studio, right? Like to make a game. And ultimately, she sort of said, like, I wonder if the way that this has to go is sort of like what movies do, right? If we're going to be making these huge, big budget things that are gigantic, movies don't have every single person that works on the movie as an employee of the studio. They are companies that exist that say, hey, we do sound design for movies, we do CG for movies, we do all the various parts of this movie. The director's there and the production studio itself is like on set, but all the post effects and all the work that's essentially not done at the set is done by companies that expressly do this, right? And
so to give some insight, I think that like this is already happening on the Japanese side, like
sure.
Because I think right now with a lot of Western developers, the thing is like almost like it's all made pretty much in house, right? Like how Amy Hennig is saying. But like in Japan already, like Nintendo, Capcom, like all these people, they subcontract to like a whole bunch of companies, right? That are specifically for, hey, like these guys are making assets, these guys are do sound effects, whatever,
What's the name of that company? There's a company that's worked on like 1,000 games, but it never gets listed.
I forget the name off the top of my head.
The whole point of them is that they work on games, they don't get credited because it wants to look like Nintendo's working on this game, and they're just behind the scenes, like making the pot that exists in this room, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that the developers at Nintendo don't have to waste 7 years modeling every minute detail. They're busy designing the game.
I mean, even like
right?
Pokemon models are like outsourced, now to Creatures Inc. That's primarily what they do. They make the models for the Pokemon. And it's like
nobody ever talks about Creatures Inc. But yeah, they're there. They exist.
Yeah, they I mean, because Game Freak's doing most of the work, but like all the stuff that they see is like not as important. Like say like asset creation, they farm that out. I wonder if that's the way to go, because it's hard. It's crazy. You look at the size of like EA, and it's like, how do they employ that many people? Like they're double the size of Nintendo. Like,
and they put out a fifth of the number of games.
Yeah, I was going to say double the size, half the quality,
and not even quality, but just like in terms of sheer output. They're putting out way less games than say in for Nintendo. So it's like it's. And
I mean, I think a Western company that did do that has done that well is Ubisoft. Like I recently the Assassin's Creed games were on sale for like $15, and I downloaded Odyssey, right? And I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? It's insane that they put out these games that are like outside of Unity, which was a buggy mess. Like they put out a huge open world game every single year that like plays well, runs well, like looks good, and rarely has these huge disasters to them, right? It was really, I mean, it was the start of this gen, which was Watch Dogs and Unity, but they have restructured a lot of their development to after that, and they sort of hit a stride ever since in a way that
they took a year off, didn't they?
They
Assassin's
did.
Creed.
Yeah. And they reassessed. I mean, that was also. I mean, I like Odyssey a lot. Actually, they've done a lot of smart reassessing of why people like these games. But like fundamentally, I think that they're able to do that, right? Because like some people need, to bring up Nintendo. When they reinvented Breath of the Wild, they had to take essentially a generation off for Zelda, right? Assassin's Creed took a single year, right? And like I don't want to compare those 1-to-1, but it is pretty wild that like for them a big break was a year. Where like for most companies, a year is like a fast turnaround, like that's they've adapted to this new generation well.
Yeah, I think Ubisoft is like maybe the only one really who's putting this like who's actually like
keeping
incredibly successful with this model of hiring so many people and putting, because the thing is they hire so many people, but they also put out a lot of major games every year, and almost all of them have been successful too, like I think it says something that Assassin's Creed Origins last 2 years ago now was the biggest Assassin's Creed launch to date at that point, which is huge because Assassin's Creed franchise was huge, right? But Yet it wasn't. It's not even in the top 5 of like great Ubisoft launches this generation, because everything else at Ubisoft is doing even better. You know, like The Division was an incredible launch. Tom Clancy's what is it?
Ghost Recon
Wildlands, that did great. Far Cry 5 did amazing. You know, like Ubisoft is pumping out game after game after game, and they're almost all of them are incredibly successful. And not only are they pumping out so many big games every year, right? But they're also successfully turning them into live games, right? Because I think like Anthem is a live game, but this is like the only BioWare game we're getting in like X amount of years, right?
Yeah.
But Ubisoft is able to put out. I mean, Rainbow Six Siege is still getting huge updates. You know, For Honor, which is probably on the lower end of their games, is still getting continued support. You know. So they're putting out these huge games, they're supporting them for years and years and years, and they're just incredibly successful all around. Like Ubisoft feels like on top right now.
Well, I mean, like you said, it just feels like they've adapted. But I mean, we'll see. You know, because with this generation, assets become harder and harder to make as that gets higher and higher fidelity, and so you know, you sort of have to say, how do we make this work?
Yeah,
and
I feel like the graphics will always, you know, as they increase, will always be chasing like a higher and higher demand for that fidelity, and it'll always put a greater strain on the companies. So I mean, it's kind of built to be unsustainable eventually, right?
Yeah, at some point there's going to be a breaking point where the old type of development's not going to work anymore, right? And we may be hitting that now.
I think it's worth noting, like companies like Naughty Dog and companies like Rockstar, they're putting out less games than they ever have before. You know.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually, that's a good point. Because I was thinking about Rockstar the other day, and I was like, damn, I really miss, you know, Rockstar putting out, you know, like little side games, right? Like, because they have the Grand Theft Autos, the Red Deads, the I don't even know.
Name a third
They don't
one.
have anything else.
Name
anymore.
a third one.
They have nothing else anymore. But back in the day, they had the manhunts, right? They had the manhunt, the random ass other crap like Bully. God, that's actually what made me think of it was Bully. The other day when I was thinking, the ping pong game, whatever. You know, they made other shit,
Tableton,
right?
Yeah,
and even like just the biggest games, like they managed to put out 2 Grand Theft Autos and a Red Dead last gen, right?
Oh, last gen, right? And we're
and
not
now
getting
we
Grand
got
Theft Auto 6. Hell no.
No, and we got a cross-gen Grand Theft Auto.
Red Dead 2 and a cross-gen GTA 5, which doesn't even count, really. You know?
No, not really. They just ported it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the GTA got expansions, and so did Red Dead. I mean, and that exists online with GTA Online.
Yeah,
but like,
you know, that's a whole.
It's a different thing. But yeah, and so I mean, and Naughty Dog went from, you know, making a whole trilogy of games and starting The Last of Us to making 1.5 Uncharted games and squeezing in a Last of Us 2 at the very end of the generation. And you're sort of like, well, you know, I mean, that's just.
They're all really good games. I mean, so far.
They're really good games.
Yeah, great games. But yeah, Naughty Dog used to. I mean, they pumped out fucking 3 Uncharted's, right, on PS3. And then PS4 was, you know, they pumped out 3 Uncharted's and The Last of Us. Now it's just like, what?
It's 1.5 Uncharted's and another Last of Us, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
which, I mean, are going to be good games, but, you know, I think it's.
I mean,
but it's just,
Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 and The
like,
Last of Us 1 were great games, all of them.
Yeah. It's like their quality is not like increasing or decreasing though, you know. But just the sheer output of them is decreasing though, in terms of like how many games they're pumping out.
Yeah,
it's weird. I don't know. This gen is a weird gen. I tell you.
I mean, we're hitting that ceiling eventually. We're gonna hit that ceiling eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, I was thinking the other day, like, I don't know, the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, right? Like, there was a lot of weird, like, experimental stuff, like, that would come out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's like screeched to a halt.
I mean,
like,
that kind of stuff is purely coming from the indie scene now.
Yeah, that's all.
Like, that is,
it is. Yeah, it's really coming
and
from
it's
the
well
indie
and
scene,
alive
like,
in that scene. You know, it's just that but in terms of like,
where's my weird shit? Like, where's my Dark Summit? You know,
yeah,
like,
but you're never getting that from
games.
you're never getting that from EA or Rockstar ever again.
No,
you know?
that's too much risk for them. They can't afford that. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in this situation where like the games industry is sort of at an impasse in a lot of different ways. I mean, because I think that even on the we can sort of transition to on the Japanese side of things, right? We have 2 different companies sort of trying 2 different things right now concurrently. Well, you know, where we have Capcom with Devil May Cry 5, like we just talked about earlier, is going to come out, right? And they had, I mean, a huge success at the start of last year with Monster Hunter World, right? Like, and Monster Hunter was this play of, hey, we're gonna get bigger, higher fidelity. We're putting this on consoles, putting this on in HD, sort of like we're really trying to make this blow up in a way, and it worked. It genuinely did, right? But and I have worries a little bit with Capcom because it feels like they're always sort of like just one or two things away from it going real bad real fast, where I think that they've taken that approach now to like Resident Evil, and Resident Evil 2 came out. Resident Evil did very, I mean, it reviewed well, like it's a great game, but it didn't like blow the doors down on sales. It did pretty good, right? It did more than 7, but it will do less than 5 and 6, right?
Yeah,
and then we have Devil May Cry, which was never, I mean, Devil May Cry did well in the PS2 era, but was never this insane barn burner, but definitely has the biggest budget it's ever had, and with that comes higher stakes than ever before, right? And so sometimes you sort of have these worries of like, these franchises that I love that they're getting these big chances to shine, but ultimately, not every game can be the biggest game in the world, and there needs to be space for things that can sell 2 million and they'll be happy with that, right?
Yeah, versus like if Devil May Cry 5 only sells 2 million, Capcom will not be happy, But that's probably a series where that's probably the target that's probably the mark you should be targeting, And it's like, for Capcom in particular, it's concerning because it's just like, how long is that sustainable to make everything super high-end, high fidelity,
It's not.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Square was sort of the poster child for this. Famously, they said that, Tomb Raider Reboot did 4 million and they weren't happy with that last gen, right? And it's like, well, what were you budgeting, right? Like, how did you get into a position where 4 million was not making money back? And then Final Fantasy 15 famously had, a lot of stuff that drove that budget up. But then they put out Nier Automata 2 years ago, and that game did 2 million, and they're like, we made more money on Nier Automata than some of our biggest releases, right? I would not be shocked if Octopath made them a lot, made them a healthy little, profit, with that game selling like 1.5 million, basically.
Right, so, I mean, these AAA companies, they're finally learning from indies. I mean, hopefully they're learning from indies to, make smaller games along with their big games, to get that revenue up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And that's like almost what I was leaning towards when I was talking about, like a couple gens ago where, you'd have these huge games, but then like companies were still releasing, random other games, like kind of, that weren't necessarily gonna do huge numbers, but could, also please a random section of fans where, oh, wow, this like, get a cult following or something, just kind of like small games that ended up, surprising people. And I kind of miss that. I guess to that point, Square's kind of doing it still, but I feel like a lot, it's just missing, though, for the most part.
Well, God bless indie games, because they're really filling that hole.
They are filling that hole. Yes, I agree.
They're
100%,
so good.
So.
Like, they've gotten so good.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to constantly brag on them, but like, I think Nintendo like has had the wherewithal to sort of still be aware of games that like, Mario Tennis Aces doesn't have to do an insane thing, and it can be fine, right?
Yeah, Nintendo still does that too. I mean, we got Sushi Striker, right? Like that's
I mean, Sushi Striker did lose money, but also they didn't lose that much money on Sushi Striker if it did flop. That's
it's like
part of the
it's just an interesting little like they did it. They put out a little fun side game. I think Ubisoft kind of does that too. Like Trials, isn't a game that you'd see that's huge, but it's still we're getting that, so.
And there's still like the one people keeping the casual game going with Just Dance.
Like we said, like Ubisoft is this huge company that does put out these big games, but they also put out Trials Rising. They also put out Just Dance.
Yeah.
Which is
on the
having a diverse lineup is good because it means that there's nothing that there's not as high stakes if something goes wrong.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Don't
put all your eggs in one basket, kids.
That's true.
Diversify your bonds, bitches.
That's true. We are now just a financial podcast. So then we have another action game. I just want to briefly give mention to because we have previews for it now. The people have played the first 3 hours of a game that's ties into a recent episode. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. From Software, right? We talked about Dark Souls last week on the list.
Yeah, we did.
But an interesting thing is that Miyazaki, not the Studio Ghibli guy, but the director for Dark Souls 1, 3, and Bloodborne, I'm pretty sure,
His darker half.
it's true. He's done interviews with Sekiro, and he keeps trying to say, hey, like this is from software, the stuff that you sort of take as hallmarks of us, that a game is hard, that it has action, yada yada, will be there, but this is not a Souls-like, even in the way that Bloodborne was. But all the marketing all the previews are constantly comparing it to Dark Souls, right?
Oh,
And so it's that thing that sort of I want to have a conversation about, of like, whenever you have these games that are big, defining for a studio, right? Dark Souls was a defining game for From Software, put it on the map, and I'm sure they don't mind that. But like, whenever you are a company, how do you go about not having every game constantly just be compared to that one?
yeah,
I mean,
right.
So it's
like
hard with
their brand,
sorry,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like their brand. There's a lot of expectation wrapped up with the From Software brand
Name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with From Software specifically, like, it's worth noting, like, yes, like, Sekiro is not... It is very different from Dark Souls, but, like, they still play very similarly,
But do they?
I mean,
Because I thought so, but the more I read the previews, the more they don't. That's what surprised me the most.
I mean,
the
sure,
Sekiro is
and
actually
I think it's proving
really
that
different.
there's at least variation in like, there's clearly, like, I think people overblow the quote-unquote Souls formula. Like, I think there's enough variation in this that you can make a pretty much completely different game. But, like, it's hard not to compare to Dark Souls, It still is,
Sure.
Especially when a company is so known for that. I mean, you kind of see it happening with Nintendo right now, right? Where, like, literally everything that they announce, it's like, well, but is this the Breath of the Wild moment for this franchise?
Only stupid people do that. Come on.
No, I mean...
It's true.
I'm not defending it, but like, but like with FromSoft in particular, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like the games play close enough. Not saying that they're very that close, really, but like they play close enough that, like, it's
on first
hard not
blush,
to it's hard not to, like, be like, well, Dark Souls did this, whatever.
I mean, it's just I mean, that's the thing, is I hope that the game isn't inundated with, but it doesn't have the RPG stuff that Dark Souls has, because it's like this game never had that in mind, right? It never had the leveling like that in mind. It has a different thing that it's aiming for.
I mean, because like from a fan perspective, I can see, like, being like, oh, well, I really liked that aspect of Souls, and I'm kind of sad that they're not doing more Souls, right? But I don't think you should hold it against the game itself for, like, not being Souls, Like, this is its own thing. Like, you can be sad that Dark Souls 4 is not happening yet, but, like, take Sekiro for what it is, I guess,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we had a lot of Souls for a while.
I really dislike these kind of takes because the game isn't out yet. So just wait until you play it. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just these are people that have played the first 3 hours, right? And it's that conversation that's going to happen. Right?
Yeah. But I mean, what a critic says and what you actually feel are two very
they can be
things.
different.
Yeah.
It's just I hope that people aren't coming in, like, the wider audience of people, right? That they're not coming in saying, hey, this is the Dark Souls people. It's like, no, these are the people that make really good games, and they've made a really good game in Dark Souls. Like, I think we can allow them that much before we start complaining already, because people were already saying, like, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, and you sort of have to say, like, maybe you won't miss it. Maybe that stuff wouldn't work in the format of the game that they've made. And so, I just want to briefly mention that, because I think it's an interesting moment for From Software.
I didn't even know this game existed, so
What?
that's the thing.
Sekiro?
Sekiro? It got announced at E3 last year. Well, technically, it got...
Is this the weird, like, samurai game from Sony?
No,
with, like, the fire?
No, that's Ghost of Tsushima.
At Microsoft's conference, they announced a new From Software game.
I don't know. It all blended together.
So many samurais.
It was so boring to me. I didn't.
Now, hold on. Don't you insult...
I'm just saying for me. I'm not saying that it
But I
is.
feel like as someone who follows gaming news as much as you do, like, not knowing Sekiro is kind of a shock. What the next game from Software is all right, whatever.
I played one From Software game. I played Bloodborne. It was all right. But
oh my god, fucking die.
Here we go.
Every time you say the name of the game, I think Sakurai. I want to see a game of Sakurai.
Yeah.
Oh, what if he is the Sekiro, the lone wolf?
Then I'll play the game.
Take an Ivy drip to work.
Oh no, that's a whole story we're not going to get into. Yeah. Also, one little thing. This is. Please indulge Will for a moment here. So there has been a mod. I want to talk about this because I think it's neat, just as a unique video game situation. There was a mod for Dota called Dota Auto Chess. Won't get into the details of it, but know that it's gotten big. In some ways, it might be bigger than regular Dota, which Dota's a popular game, and it recently just passed 5 million players. The mod did. And it's a big deal, but it looks to be getting its own unique game that is now spinning off, which is interesting to me because it continues this daisy chain of mods of mods of mods.
I mean, that's
Dota was a
how
mod,
Dota is.
though.
Yeah.
Dota was a mod.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So it's a mod of a mod.
Yeah.
It's a mod of a mod. So there's this legacy, but this is unique to video games, and I think I want to remark on how cool this is, right? Like,
I've seen a little bit of this game being played. It
Yes.
seems pretty interesting.
yeah.
It doesn't seem
but-
like chess, though, to me.
No, it is not particularly Dota-like, not particularly chess-like, literally just the board. That's as close to checkers as it is to chess, to be honest. But in terms of that stuff. But I think it's interesting just that, like, especially with Valve, the connection they have to this stuff, like Team Fortress was a mod of Counter-Strike, right? Like, Dota was a mod of Warcraft. But, like, you don't have a movie where someone's like, I took the characters from Marvel and made a whole new series, and now it's getting its own film franchise. Like that, you can't do that, but you can with video games. You can take these models and you can take their gameplay elements and you can recontextualize them and make this new thing. And I think that's a beautiful part of video games. Is that
Yeah. I mean, the community is just, like, very passionate. There's always
Yeah.
people out there creating new stuff, and that's one of the great things about it. So
Yeah. I went onto the Minecraft on Switch version the other day, and there are people, this whole living is just making skins and like maps for Minecraft. And that's their livelihood.
well,
And you're just like, you know what?
They
pretty
make
cool.
money off it?
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah.
What the fuck am I doing right now?
I
Why am
know.
I not doing
I mean,
that?
to be fair, you're not giving credit to the work they put in to be able to make money off of it.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I just would say it's more fun than a
Desk job.
everyday job. Yeah, a desk
Yeah.
job. You know, it's a desk job, but you're playing video games, so that seems more fun. I'm sure it's still hard work, but like, you know, when something is fun, it doesn't seem as much hard work.
Yeah.
that's true.
And so I think that is ultimately what is just a thing. I want to give a little shout out to those guys for making that mod and having it blow up in the way it did, but also just a cool thing that video games get to do.
Get good at
Um,
Minecraft, Brandon. Jeez.
Start.
Yeah.
Go to school for it.
Minecraft school, here I come.
There it is. So that is the news for this week. And now we turn our eyes towards the list.
The list.
The list.
Mooseville, you were a little bit better than usual.
It's not saying
Last week, Noah, in his final parting blow, added Dark Souls with only 4 people on the podcast.
Disgusting, honestly. That's like
And
that's
wanna
one of the
talk
most
about it.
disgusting moves I've ever seen on this podcast.
Really? Because I would have put it at number 1 just
Yeah,
to
and-
hurt you if I would have known you felt that way.
Well, you know.
we dodged that bullet. It is at number 3, right below the eternal battle that one day hopefully will be settled. But Moozamil, it is now your time to add something to the list.
Okay, so I was thinking between 2 games, and I realize now that the game I want to pick is gonna sound like spite towards Noah, and I swear it's not.
I love Spite. I love it so
Oh,
much.
no.
I swear to God, it's not.
The re-rank is
Right?
close, remember that.
But I was thinking about a console, a handheld actually, the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
It's-
Oh no.
No. You can't do this.
and
Wait,
some-
I don't understand. Oh,
I
wait,
know, I
what?
know where he's going.
Some
I know where this
some
is
of,
going.
You know, and the GBA has brought us a lot of classics.
Oh, crap,
and,
I know where he's going.
it birthed some new franchises, you know. So I was thinking between 2 games, and I thought Advance Wars. I was like, no, I don't really feel like doing Advance Wars right now. What about Golden Sun?
I knew that was coming.
He's
Well,
gonna be so fucking mad.
You know what Noah's rear rank is in a couple weeks. Please be excited.
Depends on if we do it dirty or not.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think my perception of doing Golden Sun dirty might be different than Noah's perception is the problem.
Noah would say number 1 right now.
Yeah, that is the problem. I would not.
All right, so Golden Sun.
Okay.
Golden Sun. It's an RPG, right?
It is an RPG.
Made by Camelot Software.
Camelot.
Yeah. I want to say it's like their first like RPG. I mean, because like they.
It was. No, I don't think it was. No.
Oh, okay. Then
You gonna
I'm
bring up
totally wrong.
Mario Golf on the Game Boy?
No. They had
Mario
like some
Tennis?
Sega
Well-
stuff, right? They had like I
They
guess.
did. Yes.
Yeah.
They did other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it's a pretty traditional RPG. You know.
Mhm.
You get the things, you defeat the bad guy. You know, whatever.
Wow.
Shining
good,
Force, by the way, was what we were thinking of.
Shining Force. There it is.
Yeah.
Shining Force.
Oh, they made Shining Force.
So the battle system, I think, plays out like.
The Gen
Fairly-
system.
Yeah, I think it's fairly traditional, you know, right? I mean, it was cool, but like, it essentially they're just spells, right?
They are, but they're cute little boys. I love
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't you like mix and match them to get different ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's,
Cool.
if I remember correctly, there's like 4 elements.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
you kind of like mix and match with that, do some stuff. There's some.
Yeah, you can summon some big ass dudes too.
Yeah. And that part was also always really cool. I think that there were some puzzles in the overworld, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
you use the psi energies
Yeah.
to solve puzzles.
Yeah.
which were-
Yeah, you
which
could,
was
you
Which
could
cool.
played
push
into
and
that as
pull,
well.
grab.
And I thought the story was pretty cool, right? Like the story,
Yeah.
I don't like. I wouldn't say it was anything special, but it was like certainly like it was
Enjoyable.
It was enjoyable.
It was-
yeah. Like,
yeah.
It was
I had a
solid.
good, overall, I had a good time playing Golden Sun. You know?
And the first game when it gets expanded on in the second one, it just makes what happened in the first one like
Even better,
more
yeah,
fun.
for sure.
It's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
Well,
one
that's-
with the second
yeah.
game's really neat.
That's kind of part of the problem with the story is that it's incomplete.
Yeah, and see,
Yeah,
that's what I was
yeah.
going to talk about though. Is I think that it. So one of the, I think it's both a strength, but like in the context of the list, maybe a weakness of this game, is like it's so intrinsically linked to the second game, right? Like I feel
It
like
is definitely a
to-
part one.
To have a complete experience of Golden Sun, you have to play both games. And I don't like, and so that makes things a little weird, you know. Like I don't know, do I hold that against it? You know, I mean, it certainly made me want to play the sequel more, but like,
Sure.
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like I feel like you could hold it against it in a way, but I don't think it's that big of a thing. to
Yeah,
hold
I mean, I think overall it
No.
still worked very well as a standalone game. You know,
Well,
like,
I
sure-
mean-
Yeah.
The end of the game is kind of a cliffhanger.
but it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it
yes.
is.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, you know, lots of games have that. Lots of.
Yeah, but like usually cliffhangers, I do hold it against the game though. Like,
Yeah, you know, Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Oh
You-
my
you
God.
wait for it.
like in most media, like I see a cliffhanger and I get pretty upset, to be honest.
Sure. I mean, it's
Well-
weird, right? Because like Halo 2's ending being like finish the fight, then cut to credits, doesn't feel as bad in a world where Halo 3's already happened, right? The cliffhanger ending of Golden Sun 1 doesn't feel as bad because you can immediately get Golden Sun 2.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I
So
still haven't
that-
played Golden Sun 2. Shit.
Well,
it's a good game.
I want to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but so like overall, like I think Golden Sun is really good, right? I don't think
Uh-huh,
I don't think
yeah.
like any of the aspects of the game are particularly like special, right? Like I don't think it's like the top of its class in like, I mean, pretty much in any of it. But
I think it's the best original RPG on the Game Boy Advance.
sure, yeah.
And I think people
Sure,
could argue
yeah.
maybe Mario and Luigi,
Shit.
oh no, yeah, I might put Mario and Luigi higher.
but I don't know. I think this might be well, maybe the second one actually might be better. But it's really fucking solid.
It's-
though.
yeah.
It holds up next to like some of the classics of the Super Nintendo era. Maybe not as good as like obviously Chrono Trigger. Don't kill me, Ilsa.
Yeah, I'll
I
fucking
know
murder
it's not
you
as
right
good
now,
as that.
brother.
Calm down.
No,
Calm
yeah,
down.
I
You
just
see,
mean that
Escalade?
like, especially when you compare it to Super Nintendo RPGs, though, like I feel like the battle system, it's fun, but it's not anywhere near the best battle system in the world. You know, like the story is cute, but cool, but like it's not one that particularly stuck with me necessarily. You know.
Sure. I mean, to compare it to a game that I think is on the list already, and I don't want to guide anything, because I think it actually should be higher than this, but like it's very like Illusion of Gaia tier thing, right? Like it feels like it works in that space.
I would agree
of
with
like,
that. But it also kind of has like a little bit of Alundra elements to it,
sure, yeah.
like a little bit of that action RPG stuff.
I think it's better than both of those.
I mean, I agree that I think it's better than both, but I think that like when we're saying SNES RPGs, we're alluding more to like that type of thing than like here's Chrono Trigger.
Right. Like it doesn't hold up with the best of the best, but it definitely like in that area of Illusion of Gaia, Alundra, like
yeah.
I think it's like you can say it's better, but I do think it's like of similar quality. You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with that.
I
where
would
do you
put
wanna
it
put
right
it?
below Phoenix Wright.
Huh.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, I might put it. Yeah.
Fuck. There's about Wonderful 101 higher.
There's those problems where I'm like, I'll put it maybe above Kid Icarus, but below Phoenix Wright's my problem.
Yeah, Kid Icarus is too high.
Or I think Phoenix Wright is too low partially. Is part of my thing. The Phoenix Wright saga will never end. I mean, I think I'm fine above Einhander, below Phoenix Wright, to be honest with you.
Damn you. Einhander's good.
Einhander's good, but Golden.
I've never played on Hander, so I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
I would put it above mine.
Wait.
I mean, they're both good.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah, alright, yeah. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to me. They're both really
it might be better than Phoenix Wright. I mean, maybe.
I don't think it's better than Phoenix Wright. I think Phoenix Wright was a very special game, and especially like if I want to compare it in the context of the genre, like I think that Phoenix Wright is like one of the best visual novels around, flat out. Even it stands out even amongst its sequels. Like obviously, I think 3 is better, but like I think that Phoenix Wright 1 is
Yeah, I
incredible.
mean, it is one of the best visual novels.
But not even in the context of like, oh well, does that make it better than like a middling RPG? Not necessarily. But I do think that Phoenix Wright, I found that to be a very special game. Like that story that Phoenix Wright tells is an incredibly paced game, and this game is a game that did get sequels, but you know, did not resort to a cliffhanger necessarily. Like there was still things that were open ended at the end of Phoenix Wright, right? But like,
Yeah.
I feel like Phoenix Wright is an incredible like beginning to end experience. You know?
I mean, I would put it below Phoenix Wright. I'm pretty confident on that one.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
I mean, okay, fair enough. I mean, I was just gonna make the point. I mean, visual novels, to me, like are you know, they're really good and I love playing them. But at the end of the day, like, how good was the gameplay?
Yeah, but I don't think that makes it a lesser experience.
Yeah, I don't think you can judge visual novels that way.
I know it's visual novels are a weird thing.
Because to rephrase it a little bit, like sure, like maybe it didn't have the core gameplay. Maybe is not better than something like Golden Sun. Though even that I would kind of disagree because like I don't know if the gameplay in Golden Sun is particularly special, you know. But like the enjoyment I got out of Phoenix Wright at the end of the day is more than Golden Sun.
I think I agree.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, when we're talking about visual novels, we're talking about the complete package, not just the gameplay. You can never compare the gameplay of a visual novel to a game with like actual gameplay.
Yeah, it's hard.
With like a
Visual
battle
novels are
system and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? But yeah, but I think we have it then. There we go. It's number 34 on the list, Golden Sun. If anyone has any issues, speak now or forever hold their peace.
And
by that, I mean hold their peace until roughly 6 weeks when we do the re-rank.
We are on the road to Rankomania.
We are on the road. We are getting off the on-ramp. So
Wait,
surrounding it.
is this gonna happen before WrestleMania?
It's actually the same week. It actually.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know.
Wow!
It happens after WrestleMania, but it's the same week. It's fucking great.
The Rankomania after WrestleMania, where we have all these premieres, all these call-ups. Surrounding it, though, 32, Kid Icarus Uprising, 33, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, 34, Golden Sun, 35, Einhander, 36, Animal Crossing. Coming into your town. That is the list.
Population rise.
Population rising. That is the podcast for this week. Brandon, last week you were going to get the final phrase, but I took it from you to give it to Noah. So this week you get to get it because I remembered. By the way, pay spin below. We forgot.
God,
Son of a bitch.
But while you think on that final phrase, Brandon, let's do some quick plugs for the twitter.com/jumpupsupercast, where we post whenever these episodes go live. We also post whenever we go live on twitch.tv/jumpupsupercast, where Brandon sporadically makes his way through Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Maybe, I want to do a stream of some game sometime soon. Actually, so we'll see. Maybe I'll be on there. Maybe I won't be. But either way, you can find out by following us on Twitch and on Twitter to find out. You can follow us on SoundCloud as well. You can rate us 5 stars on your podcast service of choice. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at those URLs /JumpUpSupercast.
Did we want to mention Brandon's?
Brandon,
thingy?
Maybe you should tie this in. You have multiple final phrases because you have a thing you should plug that you can then.
Yeah. Well,
go.
That was gonna be my final phrase, but don't worry, I'll come up with another one.
No, you can just make that be your final phrase. End on that, Brandon.
Okay. Did you mention the game club at all?
Oh no, you're right. That's gonna be. That was a weird sound I made. That is coming out this week, right? When you hear this on
It'll be out this
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Psychonauts, a game that is oft beloved, a cult classic of sorts, and I think that we might be joining that cult from the stuff I've been hearing. So,
Sure.
Look forward to hearing about that the upcoming Thursday. But now, Brandon, your final phrase.
Yeah. So, everybody who listens to the Jump Up Supercast, I know you're a fan of the show, and I know you're a fan of me in particular, because who wouldn't be? But I am actually going to be competing in indoor triathlon. Now, why do they call it a triathlon? I don't know, because we do 5 things, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's at the world's biggest arcade. It's Fun Spot over in Laconia, New Hampshire, and it's a fun-filled afternoon where we play bowling, mini golf, skee ball, darts, and pinball, and we compete in teams of 4. And my team, Team Puma Pants, it's a good name, I know. You can clap if you want. But our team is competing. It's me, a couple of my friends, my sister. We're gonna do our best to win, but all of the competitions that we're doing is to benefit saving and helping animals. All right, there's a couple different charities that we're doing this for. Live and Let Live Farm, Franklin Animal Shelter, Friends of Feral Cats New Hampshire, and the Rosal May Animal Alliance. Now, it was $200 a team, and all proceeds are going to those charities. And also, our teams are raising money. And with that money, all the money that we raise is going right to the charity. All the proceeds go to it. But the more money each team raises, you get extra points at the end of the day in the competition. My team has raised $260 so far. Our goal is $500. If you do want to donate to our team and help out Team Puma Pants, you can donate. I will leave a link in the description below. It's crowdrise.com, and you can donate however much, however little. Doesn't matter. If you want to, if you don't want to, that's cool. But if you want to help us out and you want to do it for a good cause, saving animals that need homes, dogs, cats, doesn't matter, horses, everything. If you love animals, you should, think about donating, because it's going to a great cause, and you'd be helping me out too. So if you love me, do it up. Listen to the Jump Up Supercast and play some video games and be nice, everybody.